Welcome to the Genius Solutions webinar on the new CMS 1500 form and ICD-10 for Thomas users. The features outlined in this webinar are available in version 9.4. Version 9.4 of eThomas was released to the public on February 14, 2014. You may update your eThomas program to get version 9.4. Please save your questions for the end of the webinar, where we will have a question and answer period. Today we will be reviewing how to tell the difference in the new CMS 1500 form, as well as implementation dates for the new form, how to set up eThomas for the new form, diagnosis pointers, ICD-10 implementation, importing diagnosis codes for ICD-10, how to activate ICD-10 in eThomas, how to use ICD-10 codes in eThomas, using diagnosis types, and additional tools and resources. You will notice several differences in the new CMS 1500 claim form. The first, up on top, is the QR code, as well as a date of 02/12 underneath health insurance claim form. That date also appears at the bottom of the claim form over to the right. You'll have form 1500 02-12. The most noticeable difference is in item 21. You will notice an ICD indicator to represent ICD-9 or ICD-10 codes, as well as an expansion of the codes. Instead of listing diagnosis codes 1 through 4, it is listed A through L to accommodate ICD-10. To change from the old CMS 1500 form to the new CMS 1500 form, you're going to go to the Code Files tab, then select Insurance, and then Financial. And then you're going to select the financial codes that you want to change. And underneath the paper form, you're going to change it from ICD-9 version 0805 to CMS 1500R 0212 ICD-10 version. And then save, and you'll want to do this for every financial code that you want to change to the new form. Within Thomas, while you're posting charges, you will notice the diagnosis pointers have changed. You will see diagnosis, a letter, / a number. The letter indicates the spot that the diagnosis will report on the new CMS 1500 0212 form. The number indicates the spot that the diagnosis will appear on the old CMS 1500 0805 form. Genius Solutions is selling the new CMS 1500 0212 claim form. Please contact our administrative department to order. ICD-10 was scheduled to be in effect for dates of service October 1st, 2014. On April 1st, 2014, the President signed a bill into law that will delay the 24% decrease in Medicare payments and delay the implementation of ICD-10. This delay does not change the use of the new CMS 1500 0212 claim form. With the enactment of the Protecting Access to Medicare Act of 2014, CMS is examining the implications of ICD-10 provision and will provide guidance to providers and stakeholders soon. The provisions in the statute reads as follows. The Secretary of Health and Human Services may not, prior to October 1st, 2015, adopt ICD-10 code sets as the standard for code sets under Section 1173 of the Social Security Act. So CMS will be making decisions on what this means to providers, vendors, and clearinghouses. Right now, ICD-10 is not mandated for the original implementation date of October 1st, 2014. There is no date presently slated. So what does this mean for me? eThomas is ready for ICD-10 whenever you may need it. You can continue to bill ICD-9 claims with eThomas because of its built-in flexibility. We recommend taking this extra time to make preparations and use the delay to become more comfortable with the new code set. For our dThomas users, we suggest you use this delay to not only prepare for ICD-10, but plan your conversion to eThomas. This extra time is a perfect opportunity to become familiar with eThomas. You can contact Genius Solutions for more information on converting your software. Importing diagnosis codes. In ICD-9, there were approximately 16,000 diagnosis codes. That number has changed to approximately 70,000 codes for ICD-10. Because of the enormous amount of work it would take for a user to enter those codes into eThomas, we have given you a feature called Importing Diagnosis Codes. In order to use this feature, go to your Code Files tab. Then from the left side menu, select Procedure, and then Diagnosis. You will notice a new button on the top of the screen. If you click on this button that says click to import ICD-10 codes, you'll be brought to an ICD-10 master list screen. There are two different ways to use the ICD-10 master list. The first, you can type in a specific diagnosis description and then select those codes you would like to import, the ones that you use most commonly in your office. Put a check mark in the box here and then click the import button, and it will import those codes into your diagnosis code list. The second way to use this list is to use the Select For drop-down. If there is a certain area of the body in which you'd like to import, for example, if you're an endocrinologist and you deal with the endocrine system, you may select the endocrine, nutritional, and metabolic disease area. You will notice all the ICD-10 codes that are classified in that category are selected for you. You can go through and deselect any of the diagnosis codes you do not want to import or that your office does not use. Then when you are finished, you may click the Import button, the Click to Import ICD-10 codes, to bring them into your code file system. Keep in mind that if it's a large category, it may take a while to import into your system. So you wouldn't want to do this on a busy day in your office. Keep in mind that it will import and add each individual item in that code file for you. And you'll also want to keep in mind that once you import these codes, they are now part of your diagnosis code files and would need to be manually deleted if you entered the wrong ones. So we do not recommend a user select all ICD-10 codes and imports them into your eThomas. Only select those codes that your office needs or knows you will use on a regular basis. Please note the following disclaimer. It is that you are responsible as a user to make sure you are using the appropriate code and that that code is a valid code. We may or may not update these codes in the future, so you would be responsible for keeping the code set up to date. Please note in the diagnostic code screen, you will notice a spot for both ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes. When you import codes from the master list, they will add to the list and not fill in the ICD-9 field. So it will add a key code, which is the ICD-10 code. It will add a description, and it will add the ICD-10 code. Since most codes from ICD-9 to ICD-10 do not have a direct one-to-one relation, meaning more often than not there are multiple ICD-10 codes that once equaled one ICD-9 code. Therefore, we don't recommend that users add ICD-10 codes to existing ICD-9 codes. For example, if I look up 64803, which is diabetes and pregnancy, this is the ICD-9 code. In ICD-10, there are now 3 codes that once equaled one code. You have 024.911, which is diabetes in pregnancy first trimester, 024912, which is diabetes in pregnancy second trimester, and 024.913, which is diabetes in pregnancy third trimester. So I wouldn't want to add the ICD-10 equivalent on this code because there are 3 possibilities. However, what I can do is on my ICD-10 code, so if I take 024.911, which is diabetes in pregnancy first trimester, I can add the ICD-9 equivalent to that. And I would just add it on all of my fields. And then save it, and then if I had a code of 024912 and 024913, I could add the same ICD-9 code. And then when you post charges, eThomas will use either the ICD-9 or the ICD-10, depending upon if you have indicated ICD-10 to be used during post charges. There's a checkbox to indicate if you're going to use ICD-10, and if you have that checkbox selected, it will pull from this area of the diagnosis code when you're billing. If you don't have it checked, it will pull from this area when you're billing. Once ICD-10 becomes implemented, you can activate a system setting within eThomas so that when you're posting charges, eThomas will use the ICD-10 code in your system instead of the ICD-9 code. To do so, select Utility and then Settings and System Settings from the left-hand side. The code you'll activate is called ICD-10 Default. So you would click on the plus sign to add a new code, and in the code field you would add ICD-10 Default. Tab down and put a value of 1. But you don't want to add this system setting until ICD-10 is implemented. I'm going to save this code so that I can show you what this will do when you post charges. When you post charges for a patient, if you have that system setting ICD-10 default activated, you'll notice in the post charges screen there is an ICD-10 checkbox, and that would be checked by default. So what that would mean is any diagnosis code that I have in my system or on that claim would pull from the ICD-10 area rather than the ICD-9. This checkbox will come in handy if there is a dual use period for ICD-10, which we're not aware at this time if there's going to be, but if there is, where you have some payers that are accepting ICD-10 and some payers still accepting ICD-9, as you're posting charges, you would just select ICD-10 for those payers on those claims that are going to require ICD-10, and then not have it selected for those payers that you need to send claims for ICD-9. Genius Solutions has added a new feature called diagnosis types to make it easier for users to group diagnosis codes together. To access from code files, procedure, diagnosis type, you can add any type of code that you want and save your code. These codes never leave your system. They are just for internal use. What this allows you to do is once you add your types, you can then go to your diagnosis codes and you can categorize your diagnosis codes by type. So what I'm going to do here is take my diabetes codes and put my type in there. And I can do this for my ICD-9 codes and my ICD-10 codes if I wish. I can do it for all codes that it applies. And then when you go to post charges and need to select a diagnosis code, you can now sort by type. Which will bring up all the diagnosis codes you've categorized by that type. This will hopefully make sorting through the many diagnosis codes much easier for you. Another tool we have added to the program to make the transition from ICD-9 to ICD-10 a little more smooth is the Diagnosis Summary Report. In order to use this report, you'll want to go to the Reports tab, choose Financial, and then choose Diagnosis Summary. This is a new report, so by default, Genius Solutions gives new reports no access, so that offices can define the access for their users. So if you find that you have no access to this report, you'll go to Utility, select Settings and Users, and then whatever your user is that you're logged into Thomas with, up in the left-hand corner, you'll see on your list of users. And if you select the user path, you'll see here what group that user has. So we'll close out of here and then go into the Groups area and select that group code. And you'll scroll down to the Reports category, and you'll need to give the Diagnosis Summary Report full access so that you can run that report. And new reports will be at the bottom of the list, so you'll select Diagnosis Summary and just select full access and save it. Once you've given yourself access to the report, you can go back to the report. So we'll go back to Reports, Financial, and Diagnosis Summary. Once you open the report, you'll notice you have a date range, two date range fields, a from and a to date. This report will show you the number of times a diagnosis code has been used on a claim for a specific date range. So let's say we take this for the past year. So what we're going to do is we'll run this report for the past year, and you can run it for whatever date range you prefer. We're going to click the R to run the report, and it will generate a report for us. So once we run this report, it will show us by code and description the count, or how many times this diagnosis code was used within that date range. And then what I can do with that is I can begin to form a list of the most commonly used diagnosis codes from within a date range. So I can then find my ICD-10 equivalents of those codes. Once you have your diagnosis summary report and you know the diagnosis codes you will use the most often, you can use a converting tool or a crosswalk to help find the appropriate ICD-10 codes. There are many websites and tools in which you can use for a crosswalk, both through cms.gov and other resources. cms.gov has the GEM system. The one we are most familiar with is ICD-10data.com. To use, open up a web browser. From within the address bar, type www.icd10data.com and you'll be brought to the ICD-10data.com website. You'll see the word conversion where it says convert ICD-9 codes to ICD-10 codes. Click that link. And then from here, you can type in an ICD-9 code and convert it to its ICD-10 equivalent or equivalents. We'll go ahead and type in 64803, which is diabetes. And you'll see that the code 648.03 of ICD-9 converts to 3 different ICD-10 codes. They are O codes, 024.911, which is diabetes in the first trimester, 024.912, which is the same diagnosis in the second trimester, and then 024.913, which is in the third trimester. So if the code 64803 is a commonly used code of ICD-9 in my office, I would need to add these 3 codes for ICD-10 from within my system. I could either manually add them in eThomas, or I could use the importing feature from within eThomas. Another tool that you can use to help stay on top of what Genius Solutions is doing to help you is to go to our website, which is www.geniussolutions.com. Once you're at our website, you can select your specialty, whether it's medical, podiatry, or chiro. You will notice when you come into our website, on the top of the screen over to the upper right, you'll notice the word blog. When you go into the blog page, you'll notice articles to help stay in touch and up to date on what is available to you. We also update our Facebook and Twitter accounts regularly. In addition, under the Events tab, which again is on the top portion, you can view upcoming trainings and webinars that are available for our users. In addition to our website, we have a YouTube channel devoted to short training videos. Our YouTube address is www.youtube.com/Genius Solutions Inc. And when you come in here, you can view a list of our videos. You can view by playlist, and they're organized by topic. You can also just view the actual videos. If you just click on the videos, you'll see the videos in a list. You can also get to our YouTube channel by going to www.youtube.com, and from within the search on YouTube, if you search for Genius Solutions Inc., you can find our logo, which is the circle and the G and the S, and click on that, and that will bring you to our Genius Solutions YouTube channel. Another tool that you can utilize is through Medicare. If you go to www.cms.gov, you'll be brought to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Choose Medicare, and then scroll down under the coding section and choose ICD-10. Here there are many useful tips, access to their GEM system, an introduction to ICD-10, as well as a facts page, resources for providers, as well as a small practice guide for a smooth transition to ICD-10. As difficult as a time as it is for the office staff, it is equally difficult for physicians. Please keep in mind that most professional organizations, whether it be the AMA, the Chiropractic Association, the Podiatry Association, they all have tools available to help your providers along the path of ICD-10. We've received the question many times on what ICD-10 book should I purchase. Genius Solutions recommends purchasing from a publisher that you are already familiar with. If you don't have a favorite, look at online samples as well as other publishers before purchasing. We do recommend waiting to purchase any ICD-10 books until after January 2015. The World Health Organization will continue to add ICD-10 codes. There will be no additions being made to the ICD-9 codes for 2015, however. To recap, for the new CMS-1500 claim form, you must be on version 9.4 of eThomas to use the new form. You can contact Genius Solutions to order the new claim forms. The new claim form started being required to be used on April 1st, 2014, and that's the date that it was received by the payer, not the date of service. To recap for ICD-10, ICD-10 was scheduled to be required to be used for claims with a date of service on or after October 1st, 2014. We are currently awaiting information from CMS with information on the new ICD-10 policy. eThomas has the capability to send both ICD-9 and ICD-10 claims right now. eThomas will have the ability to import ICD-10 codes from a master list from within your program. The features outlined in this webinar will be in version 9.4. Version 9.4 of eThomas has been released as of February 14, 2014. You may update your eThomas program to the latest version. Individual how-to videos are available on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Genius Solutions Inc. Click on videos and then select playlists. We will now open the floor for any questions you may have. Use the question or chat feature on your GoToMeeting pane. You can type your question. We will repeat the question and then respond to it. Thank you for attending ICD-10 and CMS 1500 webinar. Have a great day.